Hey guys, welcome back to the Accountability on Demand podcast. I'm your host, LaShauna West, and I have a special guest. Introduce yourself for the people.
What's up? I'm Sarah Gemmell, and I'm the queen of networking.
Ooh, I love that. So, because I know you from back in the day when I was a teenager, a couple years, tell me about the evolution, and I'm not going to say pivot, and maybe you will, but tell me about the brand that you're building right now and what made you shift.
I think pivot's a good word for it, okay. I feel like, right? So I built a fitness platform. When I met you, I was still in that fitness world. Mm-hmm. And what really brought on the shift was the personal life stuff, right? Like There's so much out of alignment in my life where I'm like, okay, I packed my stuff and moved to Georgia from Philly. So that was like step number one. Yeah. And then the second part was just like fitness just didn't feel aligned anymore. It felt really hard to market. It felt really hard to sell. It didn't excite me. Like I loved my clients as people, but dealing with them as clients was starting to like just really burn me out. Yeah. And I was like, where do I go from here? Like, where does this go from here, right? I didn't want to be a business coach. I knew that wasn't really my path. Yeah. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm actually really good at networking. So like, why am I not teaching this? Because no one else is. And I had really built my fitness platform on networking. Yep. And I teach people basically how not to suck at networking so that they can generate leads for their business.
Oh, I love that. So life was lifing and you paid attention to your energy and you said, this is not feeling good. What are we going to do? And I love that you looked at what else you were good at, because we're good at a whole lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. But then you also looked at what is the gap? What is the thing that's needed, but no one's really doing it? And if they are, they're not doing it like I can do it.
Period.
And jumped right in. So how has that been for you so far?
It's been really interesting because everything I've ever learned about like market research is like there's like the competitor analysis, right? So like what are other people in this space doing that's working, that's not working? And it's like, well, who else is in this space, right? And like I tell people all the time, the joke is kind of like my job is made up. So no one really understands what I do. They're like, how do you actually make money? Like, what is it that you actually do? Yeah. I get asked on a weekly basis. So it's interesting.
Well, tell us how you make money, Sarah.
Okay, so my business is training and development for other businesses, right? So it's team workshops in marketing, in lead generation, but niched into the networking space. When you go to a networking event like we have tonight, the way you introduce yourself, the way you follow up, the way you diversify who you're talking to, the way that you get into the right rooms, but then work those rooms, because showing up is only the first step.
That's so good.
Yeah.
And so needed, especially if you are an introvert, if you... I'm not going to say have low self-esteem, but if you struggle with confidence, like you could work for a 500 Fortune, however y'all say that, company, and they send you out there to go to a coffee mixer or a networking mixer, and you're sitting there shaking in your boots. Yes. Sarah's the one that literally helps this to be easy peasy, fun. And look, she didn't tell me these words, but I already know, because if you know Sarah, especially if you've seen her dance, baby. She's the one that helps you to come out of your comfort zone. It reminds me of what I do as a mindset coach and business therapist. Yep. But laser focus on the networking part and how it's really not as daunting as we make it.
No, and it's time consuming. I mean, let's be very transparent, right? Like networking is a very time consuming lead generation activity, right? So it's like, how do we make the most of that time? And especially like the team leaders who are sending their team into these networking spaces, is your team actually going with the right strategy, and is it actually working? You think it's working just because they're showing up. And to some point you are going to see leads coming in from simply showing up. But how do you create the more quality leads more consistently? And actually mindset goes in with it perfectly. Because if you go into a space and you have no confidence in yourself, the people around you aren't going to have confidence in you. They're not going to want to send you referrals. Very much right? So. And they're not going to trust you as the expert because you're showing up clammy and closed off and self-conscious. But if you get your mind right in your personal life, you do your own personal development, then put into place a bomb-ass strategy, that is what you fall back on. You fall back on, I know what I'm doing because I came prepared. You're so anxious because you're winging it. You're showing up to this space and you have no idea what you're doing when you get there.
Boop! If she's talking to you, put me in the comments, whether you're here live or on the replay. Well, it's definitely a replay because we're podcasting. But anyway, I'm thinking I'm on Instagram Live, right? I love everything that you said, Sarah. And I think that we all have That's good, right?
Oh, clank, this is clank. Good. We need to. Okay, thank you for acknowledging that.
Y'all should. How could I not? Like, she's like, Yeah, we'll put that.
I was like, wait, this is actually pretty good.
I ain't getting no sponsorship, so I'm not putting nothing in the comments with the drink.
No.
But hold up, y'all. Yeah, that was ghetto. But I just love my podcast. So what I love about what she just said was that, and first of all, I don't know whose neck you coming for, but she said, do your personal work on your own time. Because she's not a therapist. She's not your mindset coach. But she will let you know if confidence is the biggest issue on why you can't X, Y, Z, right? And then ultimately, we all want to generate leads. We all want to make an impact. We all want to make more money. But let's get to the root cause on why you can't. And it could be how you're showing up in networking events. It could be because when you see a network event, you shake. And you're like, I'm not going to that because of something that happened to you in the past. And it kerplunked, but the past was a learning opportunity so you can get better. So I know we're talking about networking, but I do not want to just pass up the whole wellness and self-care and the reason why you shifted in the first place. And I want to talk a little bit about your beautiful horses. You have 2, right?
Oh, my babies, yes.
Right? So, because we're jumping into business and that's cool, but on the Accountability On Demand podcast, I want to get to the real person behind the intellect, the brilliance, the brand. So let's just back up a little bit and tell me about what did it feel like when you were a fitness coach, enthusiast, instructor, whatever the title was, because I almost joined, but I was doing my own work of me getting in my own way, so I never joined. And then when I was like, where's Sarah? She moved on, which is totally fine because different seasons for different reasons.
Right.
But what did that feel like that made you, like, that nudge that said it's time to change? Like, what was going on?
I feel like I never did any kind of like personal growth. We didn't talk about trauma growing up. Like, this is not stuff we talked about. But when I went through my divorce and got into entrepreneurship, that's what really sparked like, oh, I actually have to figure out my own shit. Like, I actually really do have to look at how I show up in relationships and why I don't want to sell what I'm offering, right? Like, getting into entrepreneurship forces you into personal development. If you don't get that personal development piece down, good freaking luck, okay? And that's what, right? And I feel like I'm not the woo-woo friend, okay? I am not the woo-woo friend at all. But I am very in tune with myself now because I've done the work of like, why am I feeling this way? Or like just the other week, 2 or 3 people in a row asked me these questions where I could feel myself like in the moment getting so overwhelmed by all the ideas of how I could answer. And I was like, okay, I just need a second because I'm overwhelmed. Yeah. For me to be able to recognize that and put words to it that quickly, I was never able to do that before entrepreneurship. So when fitness started feeling hard, I can sit there and I can say, something's misaligned. Something's not working. And I actually, no one really knows this. I tried for 7 months to fix that feeling. I did 7 months of changing the offer, doing different launches, hiring different coaches, doing different things with my team. I had a team of 12. Okay. Right? And I was 7 months of like really trying to dig my heels in.
Spinning your wheels.
Right. Because to be honest with you, I was good at it. I was good at fitness and I was so anti-diet culture in a way that worked. Right. And I used my degree in psych and my experience in addictions counseling to really hone in on what works in fitness and what doesn't. Yeah. But at the end of the day, after 7 months, and actually Tiana Tai and I were sitting there talking and she asked me one single question. I couldn't even tell you what it was. And I looked at her and I was like, damn. I was like, it's time to shut this shit down, isn't it? And she was like, yep. And that was like literally on the spot that week I went home. I sent an email to my clients like, hey, we're going to go on a break. A 3-month break. Everyone's getting like cancellations, refunds, whatever. We're going to shut the whole thing down. Yep. I'm going to decide what we're doing. And then we never came back. Okay. And it was really just this, like, it's hard to describe. You can't really make misalignment tangible, I feel like. If you could bottle it up and make it tangible, you'd make millions of dollars. But there's just something in your gut when it feels hard, when you're not excited, like when you don't want to open up the computer and even see your messages, something's wrong.
Yes. Most definitely. Yeah. That part that you shared about entrepreneurship is the biggest personal development opportunity. Whew. Russell Brunson literally said that, and I've made it real twice. Because this is the thing. If I want to go to therapy, I get to choose, okay, I'm going to therapy. Mm-hmm. If I need to go to an addictions counselor or spiritual healing coach or whatever it is, I'm choosing. But with entrepreneurship, it's put in your lap due to different situations and experiences that you're exposed with. and you got to deal with it on spot. For example, we're in the entrepreneurial realm. We're on a podcast. If I bring up something or if she brings up something and we're triggered, we got to deal with it right now in this moment, right? And entrepreneurship brings so many opportunities for you to, I call it, heal while you build.
Yep.
Healing while building, right? But what I love about your friend, this is the thing. When you are in good company and effective environments and communities, people will tell you what's going on, and you get to either listen and do something about it or ignore it.
Yeah.
And that one thing helped you shift. Not saying you wouldn't have shifted ever, but it helped you shift quickly.
Yeah.
And are you Scorpio?
Libra.
I think we talked about, okay, it's something, I forgot what it was, but I'm a high D. Are you familiar with the DISC assessment?
I'm familiar, but I don't know my letter.
You're a high D.
I was going to say I'm probably a D.
High D, very decisive. Get an idea, make a decision, communicate quickly instead of being in your head overanalyzing, overthinking.
I had to train myself to be like that, though, to be honest. Okay. I used to be so indecisive. Like, don't even ask me what I want to eat for dinner. Yeah. Entrepreneurship has forced me because it's like no one's going to sit here and make these decisions for you. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm an Enneagram 8, so I'm a big personality, like very neurotic, very like whatever. I had to train that decisiveness hard. Gotcha. Yeah.
So, and I'm DISC certified, so I'm going to give you the link. I want you to take it.
Yeah.
Because there is something called natural and adaptive. So it sounds like adaptively you might be a high D, but naturally you're not.
Yeah.
That's what I'm picking up. Yeah. But anyways, I love that you acknowledged what the gap was and immediately did something about it, and you did not shame yourself into changing your mind. Well, what are they going to think? People are going to not like me, da-da-da. No, you put yourself first.
Yeah.
What made you put yourself? Have you always put yourself first, or was this something that kind of snowballed to where you didn't have a choice?
I feel like I might have when I was like a kid. Mm-hmm. I am intrinsically not a people pleaser.
Gotcha.
Like, I'm not a people pleaser. If you don't like it, tough shit. Like, that is like innately my belief system on things.
Yeah.
I more am like fearful of judgment of like, are people going to see this as a failure? If I have to shut my business down, not have to, but like I decide to shut my business down, I decide to make this shift. Are people going to see that as a failure and that judgment? Now, I don't care if you don't like it.
Yeah.
I just care if you're judging me. And that I had to really work through. But again, we go back to all this personal development that happens in entrepreneurship because you have to deal with that. If you allow yourself to sit in this fear of judgment, this fear of failure, this fear of what other people think, you literally will not grow a business. It is damn near impossible to grow a business, especially when it's just you. Like, you're the only person responsible for growing this little baby of a business. And you can't do it if you sit in fear. And that's one thing, that's one thing I really had to get over was like, okay, they might think that I failed and they might judge me for it and people might have opinions on it, but I really, like, my literal internal dialogue is tough shit.
I don't care.
Like, tough shit, yeah.
Right. So fast forward, how has it served you and others by you making this shift?
It's so funny because I was like, in the shift, I'm like, not totally bought into it in the beginning, right? I'm like, okay, what does this look like? What am I doing? I'm just going to host events. It's going to be super cute. Well, I started to put out content on social media about like how to not to suck at networking, and it took off. Yeah. And I was like, wait a minute, people actually really like this. Like, oh, wait a minute, people actually really want to hear about this. And because I'm such a pioneer in this space, now there's a bunch of people that talk about networking. There's a lot of people who teach networking either in a broader program, they like touch on it, or maybe they host events, they do. But no one does the nuances that I do. And it's like when you start meeting people who kind of give you that external validation, but and it starts to feel easy, and you're like, wait a minute. This is what alignment feels like, you know? Like, I'm actually really, really good at this.
Yeah.
People love it. People need it. There's a need in the market for it. And I think what in fitness I really struggled with is there was such a mental block between lead to sale. People in fitness intrinsically have so much junk in their head. I mean, fitness is such a toxic industry.
Yeah.
And I had to kind of work through it or lose out on the opportunity to help them because they're not yet a client. It's like you have to do all that work to even get them to be a client.
Right.
With networking, there's junk, but there's not that much junk, right? It's like at the end of the day, you need to generate leads, you need to get better at networking, you need to build your business. Like, let's go.
You're not helping them with the aftermath, you're helping them with the preliminary. Once you get the lead, you're going to go to someone else to help you do X, Y, Z that you're struggling with.
Yeah.
But you can't even get the lead if you're not showing up, going through her framework and her knowledge and expertise to help you be a master networker.
Yeah.
I love it. So tell me this. What has been your biggest learning opportunity in this new realm that you're navigating?
Ooh. Biggest learning opportunity. How to make money.
Okay.
So, going back to this idea of like, people ask me all the time, like, Sarah, how do you make money? I really had to figure that shit out because in this space, it's not really clear what the offer is because no one else is doing it. In fitness, cool. You charge either private training or group training, call it a day. There's a market average. There's an industry value on what that is.
Yeah.
What I do is so literally made up that it's like, okay, I really have to figure out what is the high ticket offer? How can I scale this and grow it? And that's been challenging me in such a good way as an entrepreneur and as a business owner to really like step into an expansive mindset of,
love that.
Yeah, like what is the offer here, right? How do we actually monetize this? Because the content on social media is really good. The events are even really good.
Awesome.
The events are not money makers.
You don't charge for those?
I charge for them, but they don't make a lot of money.
Low. Gotcha.
They're scalable. So, like, when they grow, they will make more money.
Yeah.
But, there's a lot of overhead in events. Even my lunch meetings, you have to pay for the space. You have to pay for lunch. You have to pay for the water bottles. Like, that's not really the moneymaker, but it's the brand builder. So now how do we take all this brand building? I've made such a name for myself that I actually was at an event, where was it? Somewhere in Atlanta the other day.
Okay.
Don't know anyone. It's a wedding vendor event. I show up and I'm like talking to this one lady with cake. I'm like introducing myself and she goes, Sarah Gemmell. She's like, yeah, she's
not the first and the last.
Yes.
Baby.
And she was like, I've heard that name before. And I was like, do we have mutuals? She's like, no, I found you on Instagram. And I was like, bet. I was like, it's working. Yes. So, like, you start to really step into that. Like, the brand is building.
Yeah.
The community is building. My name is out there. How does that turn into Sarah needs to get paid? Sarah needs to be compensated for that. So, yeah. It's been really interesting to put myself into that expansive, creative, problem-solving mindset of what is this offer?
Yeah.
And really the offer is the training and development side of things.
Got you.
Yeah.
So that would be more so with teams. What if it was an individual person, business owner, let's say they are a marketing coach and they teach other people how to make money online?
Yeah.
What's the offer for that type of person?
So
a single service provider.
Yeah, so I really like small groups, especially because we're talking about networking. It's better to be in a group because we can, in real time, implement what we're learning.
Yes.
So it's easy to go into a corporation, a business, a real estate team, an insurance team, do the work with their team, right? For the individual entrepreneur or the business owner, I put them into a small group that I form. So I have little 4-week accelerators that I put people in, teach the strategy, but in like an accelerated 4 weeks, here's all the strategy, and now here's your group to do it with.
I love that.
Yeah, and I do offer one-to-ones. I really just like the groups.
Yeah, no, I love groups because of the vicarious learning.
Yes.
So yeah, super cool. And if you're like, oh my God, where do I find out more information? We're definitely going to put Sarah's information in the description. But Sarah, I would like for you to literally look this camera right in the face because we're looking right at this person. There's someone out there right now who's doing something because they're robotic. They wake up, they're growing their business, but doing it aimlessly, not passionately, not intentionally, and they're tired and they're burned out. What would you tell that person right there?
If you are feeling like it's unintentional, it's survival mode, you're just kind of going through the motions and something in your gut is not exciting you, you really need to sit in stillness. Like whatever your source is, I say God, it can be universe, it can be source. You really need to allow yourself to sit in that stillness and to sit in that silence to really just kind of receive that information of what is next. Where do you move forward from here? I remember actually when I decided to move to Georgia, I was literally sitting in the middle of the woods. It was my birthday, 2021, sitting in the middle of the woods. No cell phone reception, no music, no other people. And I literally was just like, God, what do I do? Like, where do I go from here? And that was when I was like, okay, I'm moving to Georgia. Like, I'm literally just going to pack my stuff and I'm moving to Georgia with my horses and my cats. And that's exactly what I did.
Wow.
And if we don't give ourselves that stillness,
yes,
especially like I'm one to dissociate. I love to watch Netflix and dissociate. It's not healthy, but it is what it is. You have to allow yourself that stillness for those downloads because otherwise you'll just try to like mask it with the dissociation, the noise, all of that stuff. And you're never going to get those answers you're looking for if you don't allow yourself to actually hear the answers you're asking for.
So good. And I would add to that, and I would say be obedient to what you hear.
Yes.
The download that you get, the message that you get, a lot of times, guys, we're not obedient and we become defiant because we want to do it our way, and then we start to think about all of the other junk that's going to happen if we make the pivot or the shift. Be obedient, because whoever you believe in, they're not going to send you those signals and those downloads if that was not the way. And this is the thing, nothing's finite. So even when you shift, things are not going to go perfect. You're probably going to want to change your mind. Life is going to life, the dog's going to dog, the cat's going to cat, and the horse is going to horse.
Yeah, that is for sure.
Somebody be laughing, please. But it does not mean that you did the wrong thing. All it means is that you're growing.
Yeah.
So I'm super duper excited for what you're building, Sarah. And what I want to wrap up with is, how can people reach out to you, and what do you have on the horizon?
So I'm always hosting virtual and in-person events at some level, at some capacity. So you can check out Instagram and my website. That is really the easiest place to go. I'm Sarah Gemmell on Instagram. Super easy. If you put in Sarah with an H, because it's the only right way to spell it, and then you put Sarah GE, like I'm usually one of the first ones that pops up. But I'm always hosting different events. My entire brand is built around getting you connected to the right people. And then I'm always offering training and development more behind the scenes. So that's something, check out the website, slide in my DMs on Instagram if you're interested in actually diving into that strategy piece, especially for the entrepreneurs and the business owners who are already networking.
Yeah.
You're already spending all that time doing it. It's really important to put that strategy to play. Like, where can we audit and improve things so that this time is better spent?
I love that. Because think about it, y'all. We know when we go to these networking events, we don't have no plan. We just going. We're not intentional. We are, quote unquote, as you say, winging it.
Yep.
And one thing that I intentionally do, I make sure to follow up. So a lot of times, follow me on Instagram. Okay, that's passive. What's your cell phone number, right? And then when you get it, I'll be like, Sarah, networker, Lashana, mindset coach.
Yeah.
So you don't forget, and then make sure you follow up, right? So I just want to thank you so much for popping on the Accountability On Demand podcast. Guys, if this was helpful, please share this content, subscribe, like, and follow. And then also, if you would like to book a complimentary clarity call with me to assess what blocks you have and how I can help you get to the next level through mindset shift, all you have to do is DM the word breakthrough on Instagram. Again, Lashana West here and Sarah Gemmell with the networking queen, the accountability queen. We will see you next time on the Accountability On Demand podcast. See you soon.
Bye.